Hare Krishna, Haribol. My Dandavat pranams to everybody. Today is Tuesday, 30th December 2025. And here we're honoring Ekadashi today. Tomorrow is Mahadwadasi, so many people will honor the fasting tomorrow. But where we are, we're honoring it today. So Ekadashi Brat Ki Jai. So now we'll begin. Gurave Gauda Chandraya Radhikaya Tadaraye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadabhaktaya Namo Namaha Sri Caitanya Manobishtam Shtapitam Jina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapidantikam Priya Surupe, Daita Surupe, Prema Surupe, Sahajabi Rupe, Nijana Rupe, Prabhueka Rupe, Tatana Rupe, Swavilasa Rupe Anapita Chirim Chirat Kurunavaratino Kalo Samarapaitam Unnata Ujvala Rasam Swabhakti Shriyam Hari Purata Sundaratu Tikadamba Satapita Sadakradare Kandares Puratu Vasachinandanaha Yam Prabhajantamana Petyam Apeti Krityam Dvai Paino Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putreti Tam Matayottara Binidustam Sarvabhutam Hridim Munimanatoshmi Bhaktiya Vihina Aparada Lakshay Shiptasya Karmadi Taranga Madhye Kripa Mahitvam Sharanam Prapana Brinde Namaste Charanarabindam Bhajami Radham Aravinda Netram Smarami Radham Madhurashmitasyam Vadami Radham Karuna Baradram Tato Mamanasti Katina Kapi Tavaivasmi Najivami Tvaivina Iti Vignaya Radhe Tvam Naimam Charanantikam. I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my most beloved Gurudev, Madhya-lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again, millions and millions of times, unto the lotus feet of our dearmost Madhya-lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And again, I'm offering my Sastang Dandavat pranams unto our dearmost Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami and all our divine Rupanuga Guru Varg and all the Vaishnav and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord. My Dandavat pranams to all of you. Vansha Kalpa Tarupyascha Kripa Sindhubhebhacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So we're in this Madhya-lila 2, right at the very end. And Mahaprabhu has been expressing the ecstasies of his heart. This chapter is entitled The Ecstatic Manifestations of Lord Chaitanya. And all of these topics are going to be opened out in the Antya-lila. It's the Antya-lila that is being summarized here by the generous nature of Srila Krishna's Kaviraj. And some of the, or many of the verses that we've read through, were just so divinely beautiful in expressions of highest transcendental affection of Sri Radhika for Krishna. So these are very wonderful meditations for us to meditate on, to read repeatedly. This Caitanya Caritamrta is a book for us to read repeatedly. It needs to have many, many sessions throughout our lives, just like Srimad Bhagavatam should be repeatedly read through our lives. This Caitanya Caritamrta, also daily something, some taste. Mahaprabhu is the Yuga avatar. He's come to benedict us with the very highest conceptions of attraction to Radhika. He is Radhika directly himself, and he's manifesting the moods of Radhika. This was never ever given previously in the day of Lord Brahma. So this is exceptional. We must, the more we hear it, the more we realize how exceptional it is that we're receiving this divine gift from Mahaprabhu. Never given, and through the direct, most intimate manjaris of Sri Radhika. All our line, all of them, they're all manjaris, from Rupa Manjari to Lavanga Manjari, Vilasa Manjari, Rupa Jiva Goswami, Vinod Manjari, Kasturi Manjari, Guna Manjari. All of these Manjaris, direct maidsons of Sri Radhika, have come to support Radhika in her desire to please her Lord, in fulfilling his desires, to taste the exquisite bliss of her love that he cannot taste in that form of Krishna. As we described yesterday, he only comes to the stage of Mahabhav, and the other two stages are experienced by Radha and the gopis. So this is what we're familiarizing ourselves with, and we're hearing these pastimes repeatedly, so we'll have some significant impression of them and remember these pastimes and understand what is our sadhya, is Gopi Prem. This was established in the 4th chapter of the Adi-lila, and it's been emphasized constantly throughout, that our focus and our Ishtadev, that sadhya, is to serve Sri Radhika as the maidservants. So we have Rupa Goswami setting the example, and then all the other Goswamis are direct Manjaris, including my Gurudev, Raman Manjari, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Kamala Manjari, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, Naini Mani Manjari, all Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, Binod Manjari, all are Manjaris, including Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. He never disclosed his Manjari identity, but some know it. Nevertheless, he must be a Manjari to be in this line. Otherwise, he wouldn't be in this line. And he's speaking so intimately about these subject matters. How could it be that he was in any other rasa except Manjari Bhav, which is the gift of Mahaprabhu? So Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada himself is a gift from Sri Radhika to this world, to bring us closer to hold the conceptions of Mahaprabhu. And we know with Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, he took these conceptions to the Western world in seed form. His first teaching was that we are not the body, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This was the initial teaching, Bhagavad Gita. But all these verses and purports we're reading by him are like the seeds of what is Raganuga Bhakti, what is Braja Prem. They're all there that he's giving. He's giving us the direction of the different books to actually study, all the different books of the Goswamis. He's giving us in depth, in detail. Yesterday we described all the nature of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the various stages of Prem, going through the Ashtasattvika Bhavs. In detail, he described these 8 Sattvika Bhavs. Why would he be describing that unless he was totally immersed in this mood of Braja Prem? And how can you be immersed maximum unless you're in this Parakiya Bhav of the Manjaris? The Sakas, the Priyanam Sakas, 2 in particular, Subal and Madhu Mangal, take part in those pastimes, but they don't come to taste the same excellence of these rasas the same way that the Manjaris can. There's a distinction. But Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is so obviously in this mood. So we come to yesterday, or the last 2 verses. I'm just going to read the translation of the last 2 verses just to catch up. From 82, it says that no one, not even Lord Brahma, can ascertain or even taste a drop of this confidential ocean of ecstasy. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, out of his causeless mercy, has distributed this love of Godhead all over the world. And we described yesterday by the efforts of Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. No one else went to the rest. They did. Bon Maharaj, Pradeep, Bhakti Pradeep, Tirtha Maharaj went, different personalities went, but they didn't make any impression. It was only Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada that made a glorious impression. Thus, there cannot be any incarnation more munificent than Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There is no greater donor. Who can describe his transcendental qualities? Donor, giver, Audarya, this munificence that he exhibited. And then text 83. Such topics are not to be discussed freely because if they are,
no one will understand them. If you just discuss these things freely, people won't know what you're talking about. We can discuss freely, you're not the body. We can discuss freely Krishna Tattva, Atma Tattva. This can be discussed freely. People can grasp that and they can hear that. But these very esoteric subject matters of the intricacies of the intimacy of the love between Radha and Krishna, most people are not interested, actually. The majority of people are not interested. They're interested in liberation. They're interested in Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. The majority. And some, if they're encouraged, will take an interest in Braj, and if they stay longer in Braj and hear the pastimes of Braj, gradually something may awaken within them to hear these most confidential, intimate talks, but very few. Raganuga Bhakti is not for the general public. It's not in that direction. It's a confidential gift for the serious sadhak to embrace these conceptions and go beyond just the bodily platform, beyond Vaikuntha, beyond Dwarka, beyond Ayodhya. Most practitioners are satisfied just with moksha, liberation, or they're satisfied with Vaikuntha Prem, or Ayodhya Prem, or Dwarka Prem. But the hunger, the greed that is necessary to enter into Vrindavan pastimes, this will come by the mercy of Mahaprabhu. This is what he actually wants to distribute, but it's very, very rare. Sudurlabha. Definitely it's rare. So, unto one who is able to understand, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has shown mercy by giving him the association of the servant of his own servant. So his own servants are his parikars that we've all described. And those who are serving those parikars, as I've just described, all the Goswamis, if we are serving in that line, this is what will come through today. Our parampara, which is so essential. That connection, that current is flowing exactly like an electric current. To connect with the electric current, you have to have a wire that connects with it. You have to have a circuit that's going to connect with it. So that connecting point are the Goswamis. Without that connection, you cannot. If someone is trying to just use their own imagination or speculation, you cannot progress. We need the mercy, that's why. This path is avaroha panta, avaro. Avaro means descending. This path is descending, it's not climbing by our own speculative efforts, etc. It can't go that way. And I'll read the purport here too, just to refresh from yesterday. An ordinary person cannot understand the transcendental ecstasies in the mode of Srimati Radharani. Who can understand Srimati Radharani, her moods? Her moods are so profound in her love for Krishna, just so complete, immersion in thoughts of his. She manifests millions and billions of gopis to please Krishna, just to support Krishna's desires. Rasa is a congregational activity. A festival means many, many people. Krishna loves many, many people. So Radharani is manifesting all of those souls in her Kaya Vyuha just to please Krishna. This is what she's doing. This is the exhibition of her love. An ordinary person cannot understand the transcendental ecstasies in the mode of Srimati Radharani. Unfit persons who utilize them are perverted into the Sahajya bowl or other sampradayas. Yes, there are many apra-sampradayas. And I described yesterday those paintings depicting Mahaprabhu and Gadadhar as females. Most distasteful. Gauranagari, this is called. So some who aren't fully in line will go that route because they want some sensational taste, some material taste. This whole conception, it's all an internal revelation or realization. It's not in the external world. It's not on Facebook. It's in the heart of the sadhak's meditation. And it's a gradual process. If we can catch the topics, and if we can study particularly the Jaiva Dhamma, especially the last 14 chapters, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur carries us through, step by step. Every single chapter is relating to a particular chapter in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. It's going step by step through. We can follow very clearly how he describes the different types of hero, the different types of heroine. All of and the Astakalya Lila in chapter 38 is mapped out totally. The conversation between Vrinda and Narad and Shivji, this conversation there. All of that Astakalya Lila is there. And what is Naimitik Lila? And what is Braja Prem? What is Parakya Ras? Everything. What are the Ekadash Bhavs, etc.? All of these are described in graphic detail, perfect detail, by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Kamala Manjari. So, thus the teachings are perverted if one doesn't take shelter of these divine personalities. Even learned scholars in the academic field cannot understand the transcendental bliss and ecstasy exhibited by Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu and his pure devotees. Of course they can't understand. At best, they're looking for moksha. They're looking for material happiness, aren't they? The scholars, etc. They're examining the scriptures to get a buzz.
It's a mental,
yes,
mental sense.
Yes, like mental gymnastics. You can get a buzz out of it.
Yeah.
You can get a high out of discovering how clever you are, how bright you are. But it's not in the heart region. It's not actually touching the chords of the soul, but through the divine line. This will touch the chord. And by embracing the principal mantra, this is what is going to bring, because that is coming, Golokyara Premadana, Harinama Sankirtan. It's coming from the spiritual world. That mantra is coming from the spiritual world. We want to connect with that spiritual energy. Nothing less than that will do for the sincere sadhak. One must be fit to understand the purport of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's activity. So this is what we're discussing. Srila Krishna's Kaviraj, by his immense benevolent mercy, he's giving us now in this Madhya 2, previously Madhya 1 was a description of the whole of the Madhya chapters that are going to be Rath Yatra festival, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, etc., Nityananda's pastimes, Advaita Acharya's pastimes, pastimes with the devotees, etc. But then we come to the Antya Lila and we go into a whole nother realm of consciousness and description and activities of Mahaprabhu. So these are all fascinating. And there's no other scripture that as graphically opens out these pastimes or as authoritatively. I mentioned previously that Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada was asked one time, why did you translate the Caitanya Caritamrta? Why didn't you translate the Chaitanya Bhagavat? And remember what his answer was? Because Chaitanya Caritamrta is more authoritative. It has more connection with the Bhagavatam. It has more connection with Vrindavan's pastimes, with Braja Prem. The pastimes in Navadvip are immaculate with Sachimata and Jagannath Mishra and all the local devotees there, Kolavecha Sridhar, etc. All these wonderful devotees are depicted in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, the most beautiful pastimes. But the most confidential reasons for Mahaprabhu's advent are only opened out in Puri. Not that Puri is the highest place. We know this very clearly. My Gurudev has explained repeatedly that Navadvip is the highest place. When we're saying our Gora mantra in our Gayatri mantras, it is Navadvip Gora with his long, beautiful hair that we are meditating on him. We're not meditating on this personality in Puri. Ultimately, Puri is an Aishwarya realm. Mahaprabhu squirts these tears out of his eyes. That's very Aishwarya. You don't normally do that. Who have you seen squirting tears out of their eyes? Anybody? No. No one has ever seen anybody do that.
Clowns do it.
Do they? Okay, clowns do it. But it's beyond Nara Lila. It's beyond material conceptions. So it's actually considered Aishwarya. When Mahaprabhu pushes the Rath Yatra with his cart, with his head, the whole army and his elephants have tried to move the Rath cart. Prataparudra was determined to move the Rath cart. He didn't want to stop the festival. But Mahaprabhu simply just pushed it with his head and it rolled. He said, first of all, take all the army away, take all the elephants away. They'd been struggling for quite a few hours to pull it. He told, take it all, and just with his head he pushed. This is Aishwarya. And manifesting in 7 different parikrama parties simultaneously. This is wonderful. But it is Aishwarya. So the mantras in our meditation are to be focused on Madhurya, the sweet relationships between Mahaprabhu and the Navadvip Vasis. And we see in Chaitanya Bhagavat, Mahaprabhu will be walking down the street, he'll stop at the milk vendor, take some hot milk, just locally, some lokik sambandha. He'll go to the cloth merchant, examine very carefully, what is the nature of your cloth? Yes, I like that. He'll go to the perfume, the agrapati wala. He'll go to the garland maker. He'll go to it's all depicted by Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur. But what is the rasa of Vrindavan Das Thakur? He's in Sakya Ras. He's not describing Braja Prem. He's describing the wonderful pastimes of the Sakhas. And his Ishtadev is Nityananda Prabhu, the last disciple of Nityananda Prabhu. He's the last disciple, is Vrindavan Das Thakur. And Nityananda detected within him the propensity to write very nice poetry. So he instructed him, you write about my pastimes directly. And these pastimes are electric. They're completely ecstatic pastimes for inspiration. Inspiration for what? Inspiration to go to Puri and listen to what are Mahaprabhu's ecstasies. What is Mahaprabhu indicating? He's indicating Braja Prem through these types of talks. And it's Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is the nominated mouthpiece, directly coming from Rupa Goswami, through Sanatan Goswami, and directly also simultaneously coming from Swarup Damodar Goswami. So these 2 personalities, Swarup and Rupa, is what we are getting. And then they're instructing Raghunath Das. Raghunath Das, 14, 15 years in Puri, and then 40 years in Radhakund, in the association of Krishnadas Kaviraj. Krishnadas Kaviraj lived so many years in Radhakund. What was it, from 1534 until he leaves this world, Raghunath Das? 40 years later, he leaves this world. I forgot the exact. 1574, his departure of Raghunath Das. So Raghunath Das is instructing Krishnadas Kaviraj, and then Krishnadas Kaviraj still has strength, and he's composing these verses. So now we're going on with our concluding this Madhya 2, text 84.
Caitanya Lila Ratnasara Swarupera Bhandara Tenho Toila Raghunatera Kante Tahan Kichiye Shunilun Taha Ihan Vistarilun Bhaktagane Duilun Ye Bhete.
Translation: the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are the topmost of jewels. They have been kept in the storehouse of Swarup Damodar Goswami. Where is his storehouse? In his throat. His heart is his storehouse, and it's kept. The katachas, they're kept in his throat. These kavachas, they're kept in his throat, and he's sharing these with Raghunath Das, who has explained them to Raghunath Das Goswami, who has repeated them to me, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. This is our line. Krishnadas Kaviraj is so pakka, he has to explain clearly the origin of his source. Where is it coming from? He's not any speculative writer. It's coming originally from Swarup Damodar. All the principal verses that he quotes, those, the first verse, the 4th verse in the first chapter, Anapita Chirim Chirat. This is written by Rupa Goswami. And then the 5th verse, this Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritiya Kladini Shakti Asmad Ekatma. This 5th verse is written by Swarup Damodar. And then the 5th verse is written by Swarup Damodar. And then the 6th verse is also written by Swarup Damodar. Shri Radhaya Pranaya Mahima Kidrishova Naiva. Swadhyena Pada Madhurima Kidrishova Madhya. These are from the first chapter Adi Lila, 4, 5, and 6. Who is he immediately evoking the mercy from? Rupa Goswami and Swarup Damodar. Swarup Damodar writes all the principal tattvas like Gadadhar Astakam, for example. This is also composed and written by Swarup Damodar. Exactly who is Gadadhar Pandit? Svabhakti Yoga Lasanam Sada Braje Viharanam Hari Priya Ganagaram Sachi Sutta Priyeshwaram Sarada Krishna Sevanam Prakashakam Mahashayam Bhajamyaham Gadadharam Supanditam Garuparam Supandit. This Pandit, who is this great Pandit? Is Gadadhar. And what is his identity? He's wandering through the forests of Vrindavan, performing playful sports with Sri Krishna. Directly Radha, Swarup Damodar is the one who has given us this. These principal tattvas are there by Swarup Damodar. Whatever little I have heard from Raghunath Das Goswami, I have described in this book, which is presented to all devotees. Purport. All the activities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were noted by his personal secretary, Swarup Damodar, and repeated to Raghunath Das Goswami, who memorized them. We know previous ages they would memorize all these verses and all these principal teachings. And we know that Raghunath Das lived directly with Swarup Damodar. When Raghunath Das arrives in Vrindavan, in Puri, Mahaprabhu puts him in the hand of Swarup Damodar. You are now called Swarup Raghu.
Swarupera Raghu.
Yes, Swarup Raghu, in the hands of Swarup Damodar. Swarup Damodar is guiding him fully. So Raghunath was witness to all of these different ecstasies of Mahaprabhu. Whatever Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami heard is recorded in Sri Caitanya Caritamrta. This is called the Parampara system, from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Swarup Damodar to Raghunath Das Goswami to Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has distributed this information in this book, Caitanya Caritamrta. In other words, Sri Chaitanya Caritamrta is the essence of instruction given through the Parampara system of the disciplic succession stemming from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Very, very clear. This is giving its validation, its authenticity, its fidelity. It has to be like that with the Parampara. Text 85.
Yadike hahena kaya grantha kaila shlokamaya itarajane nari vibhujite prabhuraye acharana sekari varnana sarvachitta nari aradite.
If one says that Sri Chaitanya Caritamrta is full of Sanskrit verses and therefore not understandable by a common man, I reply that what I have described are the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and that for me to satisfy everyone is not possible. This is very personal, what Krishnadas Kaviraj is sharing here. I'm not everyone sort of running around for everybody. I'm just presenting the absolute truth. If someone likes it or they don't like it, what can I do about that? So he's just presenting the absolute truth. Purport. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj and one who follows in his footsteps do not have to cater to the public. Their business is simply to satisfy the previous acharyas and describe the pastimes of the Lord. One who is able to understand can relish this exalted transcendental literature, which is actually not meant for ordinary men, ordinary persons, like scholars and literary men. A scholar and a literary man is bound by public opinion. A scholar is only a scholar according to public opinion, right? Isn't it? If someone considers himself a scholar, it's because everyone else considers him a scholar. So he gets that nomenclature because of everyone else's voting. He's a scholar. Or a literary man, he gets his literary awards, etc. The public generally clap and kudos and so on. And but it's the public who make him that, right? But the simple sadhak has nothing to do with public opinion. Although today we have Facebook, we'll put the royal thumbs up if you get it right or wrong. But that's anyway. Generally, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes recorded in the Caitanya Caritamrta are studied in universities and scholastic circles from a literary and historical point of view, But actually, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not a subject matter for research workers or literary scholars. It is simply meant for those devotees who have dedicated their lives to the service of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And his service is Sankirtan Ras. That's the principal seva, to encourage sadhaks into the land of Vrindavan, to encourage Braje Tishtem Braji Rag Anuragi. Rupa Goswami is saying to live in Braj. So to encourage the sadhak to put his heart and soul in the pastimes of Vrindavan. What does that mean? The pastimes between Radha and Krishna, the gopis and Krishna. These pastimes, Gopi Bhav, that's our goal. Text 86.
Nahi kahan savirodha, nahi kahan anurodha, sahaja vastu kari vivarana. Yadi haya ragodesha, tahan haye avesha, sahaja vastu na haya likhana.
When you speak, you have to hold your head up more.
Okay, sure.
You don't too much down.
Okay.
It's running below the microphone. Have to go above
Sure,
the microphone.
I'll hold it like this.
In this Caitanya Caritamrta, there is no contradictory conclusion, nor is anyone else's opinion accepted. Only the acharyas are accepted. I have written this book to describe the simple substance as I have heard it from superiors. If I become involved in someone's likes and dislikes, I cannot possibly write the simple truth. A jnani or a muni or a rishi is considered only valid if they can defeat other jnanis and rishis and munis. But Krishna's Kaviraj is simply writing the absolute truth as he has heard it. Purport: the simplest thing for human beings is to follow their predecessors. Judgment, according to mundane senses, is not a very easy process. Whatever is awakened by attachment to one's predecessors is the way of devotional service, as indicated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. What does that mean? That means having affection, having love and affection. My Gurudev says many times, when we first wake in the morning, even before our feet touch the ground, we should begin our Mangalacharyan to all our Guru Varg. Every single morning, 365 days of the year, for years and years, expressing our attraction and affection for our Guru Varg. Every personality, we pronounce his name, and we remember that personality, and we read about this. So YouTube, we're back. Because one cannot write impartially in that way. One cannot write depending on other people's opinions. It doesn't work that way. If we're trying to, be entertainers in the spiritual world, trying to cater for everyone's likes and dislikes, then it becomes very bewildering. But if we just speak the absolute truth for the pleasure of our Guru and our Guru Varga, everything will be successful in the real vein. It may not be the most popular, just like there are examples of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's disciples who would preach very boldly, not even in a particularly elaborate way, and upset the audience, but Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati would be very happy and pleased with that they were presenting the unadulterated truth. In other words, the author is stating that he did not inject personal opinion in the Caitanya Caritamrta. He has simply described his spontaneous understanding from superiors. If he had been carried away by someone's likes and dislikes, he could not have written of such a sublime subject matter in such an easy way. The actual facts are understandable to real devotees. When these facts are recorded, they are very congenial to the devotees, but one who is not a devotee cannot understand. Such is the subject matter for realization. Mundane scholarship and its concomitant attachments and detachments cannot arouse spontaneous love of God. Such love cannot be described by a mundane scholar. Catch that. Okay, text 87.
Yabanahi bujekeha, shunite seha, ki adbhuta chaitanya charita, Krishna upajibe priti, jani bera serariti, shunile bada hayahita.
Translation: if one does not understand in the beginning but continues to hear again and again The wonderful effects of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes will bring love for Krishna. Gradually, one will come to understand the loving affairs between Krishna and the gopis and other associates of Vrindavan. Everyone is advised to continue to hear over and over again in order to greatly benefit. So it's saying between Krishna and the gopis. Ultimately, it's the gopis' praying that's being described in the Madhya-lila 4. So that's our sadhya, gopi praying. But to hear repeatedly, again and again, not just a one-time through. Text 88.
Bhagavata shlokamaya tikatara sanskritahaya tabukaiche bhuje tribhuvana ihan shloka duichari tara vyakhya bhashakari kenana bhujive sarvajana.
Translation. In reply to those critics who say that Sri Caitanya Caritamrta is full of Sanskrit verses, it can be said that Srimad Bhagavatam is also full of Sanskrit verses, as are the commentaries on Srimad Bhagavatam. Nonetheless, Srimad Bhagavatam can be understood by everyone, as well as by advanced devotees who study the Sanskrit commentaries. Why then will people not understand the Caitanya Caritamrta? There are only a few Sanskrit verses, and these have been explained in the Bengali vernacular. What is the difficulty in understanding? Srila Krishna's Kaviraj is softening everything for the individual, describing the way he's writing, describing his own heart and mood for our illumination. Text 89.
Sheshalila sutragana keilun kichu vivarana ihan vistarite chittahaya take yadi ayushesha vistari balila shesha yadi mahaprabhura kripahaya.
I have already given a synopsis of all the facts and figures of Lord Chaitanya's last pastimes, and I have a desire to describe them elaborately. If I remain longer and am fortunate enough to receive the mercy of the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I shall try to describe them again more elaborately. Text 90.
Ami vruddha jaratura likite kanapa ekara mane kichu smarana na haya na dekiye nayane na shuniye shravane tabu likiye bada vismaya.
I have now become too old and disturbed by invalidity. While I write, my hands tremble. I cannot remember anything, nor can I see or hear properly. Still I write, and this is a great wonder. Srila Krishna's Kaviraj is astonished at the Lord's potency to make him write, even when he's in this invalid condition. His heart is only immersed in this pastime, and his desire is only immersed to perform this seva for posterity, for the devotees. And it's going to be only up to Mahaprabhu's mercy that will allow him to continue. We're about perhaps not even halfway through yet. But we're close to being halfway through. And Srila Krishna's Kaviraj wants to complete this subject matter. So text 91.
E anjalila sara sutra madhya vistara karikichu kirulin varnana iha madhya maryabe varnitena paritabe elila bhaktagana dhana.
Translation. In this chapter, I have to some extent described the essence of the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya at the end. If I die in the meantime and cannot describe them in detail, at least the devotees will have this transcendental treasure. It's very wonderful that the author, Krishna's Kaviraj, is fully sharing with us the temporary nature of this material world. We are here for a little while, and then we leave. All of us will leave. As sure as we're born, we're going to die. No one wants to think about that because we develop such attachment to these bodies and our life around us, etc. But if one develops attachment for Krishna and our seva to Krishna, then he will determine very clearly how long we will remain in this world. But to always have that mood of understanding the temporary nature of the world we live in. At any moment, we can just vacate this world. Like Parikshit Maharaj had 7 days was given to him. So the devotees should live like this, on the edge of a razor in a sense, knowing the temporary nature. Text 92.
Sankshepe ye sutra kaila ye ihanna likila agita kariba vistara यदि तात दीन जिए महाप्रभुर कृपा हाय इच्छ बारी करिब विचारा.
In this chapter, I have briefly described the Madhya-lila. Whatever I have not described, I shall describe extensively in the future. If by Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy I live for so many days, then I can fulfill my desires. I will give full consideration to these pastimes. Text 93.
छोट बड़ा भक्त गण वंदन सबर श्री चरण सबे मोरे करह संतोषा स्वरूप गोषानि रमता रूप रघुनाथ जाने यता ताई लिखी नई मोर दोषा.
I worship here with the lotus feet of all kinds of devotees, both advanced and neophyte. I request all of them to be satisfied with me. I am faultless because I have written herein whatever I have understood from Swarup Damodar Goswami and Rupa and Raghunath Das Goswamis. I have neither added nor subtracted from their version. Very important purport. According to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, there are three kinds of devotees known as Bhajana Vigyan, experts in devotional service, Bhajan Shila, devotees engaged in devotional service, and Krishna Nam, Dikshita Krishna Nam Kari, initiated devotees engaged in chanting. The author of Sri Caitanya Caritamrta begs the mercy of all these devotees and asks them to be pleased with him. So there is the Uttam, the Madhyam, and the Kanishta devotees. All these devotees, Krishna's Kaviraj is begging for their mercy. He says, let the neophyte devotees, the devotees who are very expert in arguing, though they have no sense of advanced devotional service, who think themselves very advanced because they imitate some smarta brahmana, let such devotees not be displeased with me, thinking that I have committed errors in this regard. I beg their pardon with great humility, but I am submitting that I personally have no desire to add or subtract anything. I have only written what I have heard in the displic succession because I am dedicated to the lotus feet of previous acharyas like Swarup Damodar, Raghunath Das Goswami, and Rupa Goswami. I have only written what I have learned from them. Text 94.
श्री चैतन्य नित्यानंद अद्वैतादि भक्त वृंद श्रीधारी सबर चरणा स्वरूप रूप सनातना रघुनाथेर श्री चरणा धूलिकरण मस्तके भूषणा.
Translation. According to the Parampara system, I wish to take the dust from the lotus feet of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Prabhu, and all the associates of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, like Swarup Damodar, Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, and Raghunath Das Goswami. I wish to take the dust of their lotus feet upon my head. In this way, I wish to be blessed with their mercy. Text 95.
पानयन्र अज्ञधन प्रजेर वैष्णवगण वन्दन्तान्र मुख्य हरिदासा चैतन्य विलास सिन्धो कल्लोलेर एक बिन्दो तारकण कहे कृष्णदासा.
Receiving orders from the above authorities and the Vaishnavas of Vrindavan, especially from Haridas, the priest of Govindaji, not the Haridas Thakur, this is the priest of Govindaji. I, Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami, have tried to describe one small particle of one drop of one wave of the ocean of the pastimes of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is the conclusion of the Madhya-lila 2. And Srila Krishna's Kaviraj concludes on such a humble note. This is he's bowing his head to all the previous acharyas. He's bowing his head deeply to Mahaprabhu, Nityananda, Advaita Prabhu, Swarup Damodar, Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Raghunath. He's giving full credit to where this nectar current is emanating from. Where is the source coming from? If the devotee simply just realizes this point about what is the source, what is the origin? The origin is Mahaprabhu himself, that Supreme Lord, who is directly Sri Radhika. This is the origin. And that origin is being served by the most intimate maidservant, Sri Rupa. And Rupa is disseminating that through, particularly, initially, the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and the Ujjvala Nilamani. And of course with Dagda Madhav and Lalit Madhav. but particularly that Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and Ujjvala Nilamani. This describes in most depth descriptions of what is the nature of Braja Prem, what is the nature principally of Parakiya Ras. It's this Parakiya Ras that the devotees have to become comfortable with, because in the material conception, this is most abominable. This is not a comfortable situation in the material. So the devotee has to come into the transcendental state of consciousness to accept the transcendental pastimes of Vrindavan with the greatest relish and bliss. And we see that the greatest ladies of Swagaloka, Arundhati, Parvati, Saraswati, all these personalities, they are honoring Sri Radhika as the greatest of chaste ladies, Anasuya. They are glorifying Sri Radhika as the greatest of all chaste ladies. So she is the embodiment of this Parakiya Ras. She's married to Abhimanyu for the pastime's sake. She has to break that marriage. She has to break those moral principles. All moral dharma is broken. All chastity, reputation is broken for the sake of Krishna's happiness. In other words, you couldn't become more surrendered than that. You couldn't become more Sharanagat than that, breaking absolutely everything held sacred by young girls of Vrindavan, demonstrating the complete immersion in focusing this ekantika, this one focused attention on pleasing Sri Radhika. So Krishna's Kaviraj is explaining he's given one drop of one wave of the ocean of this remarkable these pastimes, this Braja Prem that Mahaprabhu has enunciated. So that's the end of Madhya 2. We have a little bit time more today. I'll just read the introduction for chapter 3. We won't go into chapter 3 yet. We'll just wait and begin on Thursday, because I'd like to just conclude on the sweetness and excellence of this Madhya-lila 2 and go away with that feeling. And if we have some time at home, perhaps you can just go through and look at some of the verses that Chaitanya, that Srila Krishna's Kaviraj has given us. He's speaking here. I just went at random into verse 47. Even though I do not see the moon-like face of Krishna as he plays on his flute, and although there is no possibility of my meeting him, this is Radha's anguished heart, still I take care of my own body. That is the way of lust. In this way I maintain my fly-like life. And then it's saying in verse 48, Krishna Prem Sunimala, Nirmala, Sunirmala, this pristine heart of the gopis. Love for Lord Krishna is very pure, just like the waters of the Ganges. That love is an ocean of nectar. That pure attachment to Krishna does not conceal any spot which would appear just like a spot of ink on white cloth. Utterly pure. Unalloyed love for Krishna is like an ocean of happiness. If someone gets one drop of it, the whole world can drown in that drop. It is not befitting to express such love of Godhead, yet a madman must speak. But even though he speaks, no one believes him. So these are most glorious verses through here, and we can reflect on these verses. But I'll stop now, and I think I'll just begin chapter 3 on Thursday. We'll have an early end tonight. Sri Caitanya Caritamrta ki jai, Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, O Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. O Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Gau Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhavaivacha, Patitanam Pavnebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha. Shri Gurudev Ki Jai.